Welcome to episode 128 of the QuickTime Event Podcast. I am one of your hosts, Josh, and as always, I'm joined by my partner in crime, John.
AKA the other one.
The QuickTime Event Podcast is a chance for John and I to get together each and every week to talk about all of the nerdy things that we love. This week, we're going to give you a little retrospective on the year 2020. Hopefully, well, I can actually probably guarantee you it's probably not the last retrospective on the year you're probably going to hear. Probably the last from us, though, I would think.
2020 is going to live on forever.
Yeah, we also got some news. We had a long spurt of no news because it was the holidays and all the games had come out, but now the news is picking back up. So we're going to be talking about Lucasfilm Games, Pokemon Snap, and maybe even a little Cyberpunk 2077. But before we get there, John, what you been up to, buddy?
Watch some more movies, mostly Pixar stuff, so nothing to get too excited about in terms of content to discuss. But I did also start Spiritfarer. So that's a fun game.
How far are you?
I'm not sure.
How many passengers do you have?
I have 6. So that's the thing. I keep picking people up. I've completed 2 people. And I currently have, let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 people, maybe 6.
Okay.
It feels a little overwhelming right now. It feels like I should have gotten rid of somebody else, and it just hasn't happened. And I know who it is. It's the frog, and I just don't know how the hell I'm supposed to get fat to make him goddamn fried chicken.
I kept him. He was one of the last people off the boat.
Oh, all right. Yeah, I figured it. I figured there was a chance that was going to happen because he's like, I don't know. He just feels like that kind of character who's going to stay for a really long time. I thought that the first character might stay.
Yeah, I don't know that it has to be that way. That might have just been my choice. I don't remember, honestly.
Sure.
But he was one of the last people off the boat.
Yeah. There are certain characters I like, certain characters I don't like. Not don't like, but just I wouldn't get along with in real life.
Sure.
And I don't really quite understand. Like the 2 people that I've had leave, it feels like we go through all this stuff and then they just realize the inevitability of like resisting, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
Like, is that the point?
Kinda.
Okay. It felt like there was like it felt like we were getting set up for some kind of closure.
No.
And then all of a sudden they were like, yoink, I'm ready to go. And I was like, what?
Yeah,
what happened?
It will make sense when you beat the game. There is something that happens that gives you the frame of reference as to what's going on. Because right now, you have an idea of what's going on, and you obviously understand what's happening, but there's an additional layer to this that doesn't get revealed. I think that it's revealed.
I mean, I know that there's another layer because after I did the first person, we had a real weird little encounter.
Yeah.
That is clearly going to be very important for the whole game, like the game as a whole, but right now I'm just very confused.
It's just really hard for me to talk about it. We can spoil it when you're done, but I can't say anything else without like ruining anything. So
okay.
Yeah, it'll make sense eventually. But yeah,
I think it'll probably be done not soon, but like I feel like I've progressed a lot of people's story relatively far.
Are you trying to like, or where are you playing it, Switch?
Yeah.
Are you like trying to do extra stuff? Are you trying to like max out their moods or anything like that?
What does that do besides just giving you gifts?
Nothing really. There was an achievement to maximize everybody's mood at least once.
Oh, yeah. I mean, it's Switch, so there are no achievements.
Sure.
So, like, I probably inadvertently did it because I am trying to like find everybody's favorite food or whatever, and I do try to give out hugs.
There's one
I
character.
tweeted about it. I was very insulted because sometimes I'll be like, hey, how about a hug? And they're like,
No.
nah, but I'm pretty hungry. And I'm just like, fuck you, make your own thing.
Even that will make sense.
Okay.
Again, I don't want to spoil
Their decline
it.
of their unwillingness to give you
sure,
a simple hug for, you know, carrying them across this ocean thing.
Yeah. Again, I want to talk about this game spoiler, like full on spoilers when you're done with it, but
sure,
I can't say anything right now, so I'm just gonna keep quiet.
Okay. Well,
do you feel like the gameplay loop is there? Like, do you find yourself wanting to continue playing it?
Yeah, I do. It's weird because I feel like I have so many things to do, but I can't actually do any of them right now. Like, there's only one certain line that I can follow, and I'm sure once I get a certain upgrade or something, a lot's going to open up at once. But, like, I spent a good 30 minutes just, like, scouring the map and trying to figure out what the hell I was missing so that I could, like, keep on going. Because I kept getting more passengers, and all their stuff required these resources I just can't get. And I was like, what?
Yeah.
What do I gotta do?
That seems weird. I don't remember ever having that issue. I don't think that I ever had 6 people on the boat at once either. So it sounds like you're just playing it very differently. Or maybe I happened upon something that changed the way that I played it, but
well, like one thing, and this was just me being stupid, I completely didn't realize I could just buy cotton seeds. So like everything that required cotton, I was just behind on. And so and maybe you can tell me this without spoiling anything. Where the hell do I get this nebula stuff?
I think it's it's on the map. It's like one of the events. So the very first one you go to is like the jellyfish one.
Yeah, I assumed it was going to be an event, and I just haven't unlocked it yet.
It's one of those. I don't remember which one, but it's one of those.
Okay. For now, I have 3 events, which also is very weird because I feel like I should have gotten more.
Do you have the lion?
I have both.
Okay, so the male lion, I think it's his event, if I remember correctly.
Okay. Well, I can't do him until I get the Rockbuster because he wants me to go buy flowers.
Ah. Yes, I'm pretty sure
I can't
it's his
get the Rockbuster until I do something else.
That's the thing. It's
like I said, it's this big conspiracy web. I'm whatever that guy is from Always Sunny. I'm him. I have the cork board and I have all these strings leading everywhere.
Yeah,
but I can't find the origin where I need to start.
Yeah, I don't remember having that problem. I wish I could help, but I don't know.
I mean, like I said, the biggest thing that's just annoying me is I can't find, and I know that it's not like you don't find an item called fat. You find like a food type that is classified as fat.
Yes.
It's probably like an oil or something.
Do you have sunflower seeds?
Yeah.
Do you have a grinder? If you build the grinder, you can grind the sunflower seeds. Or not the grinder. Maybe
is that the windmill?
It's either the mill or there's a grinder, I think. It's one of those.
Crusher. I think it's the crusher.
I think it's the crusher.
And I think you need like the nebula stuff to do the crusher.
Ah, okay. Yeah, so you got to find that origin point. You got to trace it all back.
It's all leading back. If I wanted to waste my time, I would make an actual I'd get a cork board and make this.
Yeah.
It'd be a worthless joke that only I would really appreciate. Maybe like 3 people on Twitter.
You're right.
But yeah, that's currently I am in conspiracy theory mode, trying to just figure out what the hell I need to do.
Yeah,
and I think I figured it out right as I put it down today.
Okay.
But yeah, that's basically, I think, all I've been doing, other than watching One Piece.
I watched an anime. We binged an anime in 3 days. Whole 12 episodes. Have you watched Beastars?
No, I have not.
Here's the thing.
Beastar scares me.
Me too. It really did. Janet and I have been hearing about Beastars nonstop from people that we trust on the internet, people who have become people that we follow, YouTubers.
How many unfollows did you?
They'll talk about
I
Beastars.
guess you would have stopped.
Sure.
You would have stopped if you didn't like it. So.
Right. They would have. They've been talking nonstop about Beastars. And every time I look at it, every time I've looked at it prior to this week, I just look at it and I'm like, it's too furry. It's too furry. I'm sorry. Like if one of our listeners is into that, that's fine. Like, good on you. I can't be into it. I can't. And so, like, I've seen a couple clips of it because there are a couple like pretty memeable scenes in the anime that have become, popular or whatever, gone viral. And based on that, I was like, I don't think this is going to be it. But then people just keep talking about it, so we did it. We watched one episode.
Mm-hmm.
The scene that is like one of the really viral scenes came up in that first episode. But then, like, it's actually good. It's actually really good. Like, everything that everybody's been saying about it is true. It's not furry enough. It's like, there's that first scene between the two main characters where something happens, and then there's a scene later on when they
is it like a wolf and a rabbit or something?
Yeah, yeah. The two main characters. The main character Legoshi is a wolf, and then his love interest is this rabbit named Haru. But there's like a lot of, like, I don't know. There's a lot of interesting things happening. So like to set up the universe or whatever, it's a universe where it's not like BoJack Horseman. It's like there's predators and there's prey, and everybody eats vegan food. It's against the law to eat meat, and like the predators. But the issue is everybody still has their instincts. So like the prey still like run whenever they like have that triggered, and then occasionally predators can have their killing instinct triggered, and what that causes big issues, especially when they're all going to the same school. But it takes
place in like high school.
Mm-hmm.
Oh my god, I thought that this was gonna be like gritty adult world.
No, it's a high school. Yeah.
Oh my, this adds a whole nother level of potential discomfort.
Yeah,
great.
The one thing is that they very briefly, and this is like, I don't know how many volumes of the manga there are, and it's only on its first season. The second season apparently is coming out this summer in the West. But there's this plot revolving around the idea of a B-star, and like in that world, the B-stars are like celebrities, I guess, but like they have some sort of like clout to be able to like direct policy changes. I don't know if they're like government officials or what. They explained it very briefly and they never talked about it again.
Okay.
Only that like there's these two characters in the show that want to be B-stars, but I really have no idea what that really even means. The great part about the show is the main character is such like a precious being, even though he's a terrifying wolf. He's like he's so pure and innocent.
He seemed nervous.
He's like pure,
scenes that I've seen.
And he like has no idea what's going on. All he wants to do is like be reserved, because he's like grown up like being he's grown up being the subject of everybody being like horrified by him, basically. So like he's sort of like Frankenstein's monster kind of deal.
Yeah.
You know? And
it's like Big B if he didn't become a disgruntled old man and he was just like, leave me alone.
Right. So like he's dealing with like, there's a lot of stuff that he's dealing with. And then something happens at the very beginning of the show that kind of sets everything into motion, but it's actually a really good show. Again, they don't really lean into, it's really not any more sexual than like BoJack Horseman is, honestly. So like, I don't know. I was really concerned. Both Janet and I were concerned about the sexuality that was involved in the show, but it ended up not being prevalent at all. So definitely recommend it. Good show.
All right. How about games? You gotta have played some games, right?
Nope.
No games.
No games.
Really?
I played like one more hour of that the Somnium Files game yesterday, and I was like falling asleep, so I stopped.
What have you been doing then? Just watching Beastars?
That was like 3 days. Been watching like, I say watching YouTube, but it's really just like passively consuming content while I'm doing something.
Yeah.
I've been like laying a lot of groundwork. So I finished the script. The script's like 8 pages long for the video that I'm going to shoot this week, and
Okay.
hopefully.
Okay.
So I was doing a lot of writing. I've been trying to figure out my fucking YouTube thumbnails because I feel like they're too busy and I want it to be cleaner and sleeker. So I've been like messing around with those. I don't know. I've been doing a lot of just kind of dicking around in Photoshop over the last week or so.
Sure.
That, and it's like, I don't know, we did our Game of the Year episode. It's like, so much work went into that. I played 50 games last year. I just need to take a minute. Like, the next game that I really want to play is Persona 5 Strikers. I think that's the next game that's coming out in 3 weeks or so. It's like, this is the time of the year where I really just need to just be quiet for a minute and just like really evaluate what's going on. So no, I've not played really any games.
I forgot something very relevant to this podcast that I did consume. I watched a little bit of AGDQ. So that was fun. That was this past weekend. Saw a couple really neat runs. Watched a couple in like the VOD afterwards just because they hit like I think it was $2.5 million to unlock this Ocarina of Time all dungeons run that they did in 50 minutes. And I was just like, what the hell? What is this about? They also unlocked like I forget what they called it, but it's like a glitch extravaganza or something where they just show off all these random ass glitches. It was like a 15-20 minute thing, but like, man, the things that you could do with this like memory manipulation in older games is just insane.
It was a lot easier back then.
Yeah, for sure. But it's just like, obviously it's somebody who understands code and coding and how this stuff works, but like, how did somebody figure out that like you have to backflip here, set a certain like view angle here, hit that blade of grass, collect that rupee, do this, and all of a sudden, oh, okay, you have the like debug game file loaded as your save file, and it's like, what?
Yeah, the better question is, why did somebody find that? Like, I feel like I can follow the train of thought as to how someone would find that. Like, if someone knows how to dig into code and find the inconsistencies or the issues with it and be able to exploit it, that's one thing. The why part is the one that I don't understand.
That's fair.
Why would you do that? Why would you spend like time to do that? I guess just like you want to do it fast. I guess
it's the oh my god, I'm forgetting his name. The Jurassic Park dude. Where he's like they were so concerned if they could do it that they stopped thinking about if they should do it. Right. Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. Good on him.
Grant
makes it entertaining.
Dr. Grant,
I guess.
I think. Is that it? Was that it? Dr. Grant?
I have not seen the original Jurassic Park since like,
God, it's been so long. Yeah, I can't remember.
2002, like middle school, probably. It's been a minute. That tracks.
Alrighty. Anyways,
I also say that I don't play games. Like, I didn't play any games, but that's actually a bold face lie. I leave out now how much Overwatch I play. I play way too much Overwatch.
Okay.
Probably like 15 hours of Overwatch, at least. So I'm getting really good at Ana. I've got like 50 hours on Ana now. And, I don't know if my, like, I've played a few other Precision Heroes. Like, I've played a lot of McCree, and I do pretty well as McCree as long as we're not playing like Double Shield or something. And
yeah, well, naturally.
I feel like my Overwatch aim is amazing. I'm not amazing. It's not like I'm like fucking pro level or anything, but it's like above average at the very least. It's vastly better than what I was doing a year ago even. I just don't know how much that Overwatch aim transitions to other FPSs on the PC. Like, if I go and play Apex Legends right now, is that going to have any...
I don't think so.
I don't think so either.
Because I normally play precision weapons, and like, for whatever reason, I think it's just the speed of the BRs. Like, they just go too quickly, I think. especially stuff like Apex where there's a lot more movement.
Just my aim in general. Like, I just feel like the last time I played Apex or any battle royale on my PC, I was just garbage at aiming, period. I don't know that, like, even playing Soldier 76, I don't know that having that aim is going to improve my aim with an assault rifle, and even like the Halo Master Chief Collection or something like that. Like, I don't know that those skills transfer. I mean, they must, right? Because
to a degree, sure.
I just feel like Overwatch is just, I have a barrier there where it's like, I can play this one game, but I can't play any other game.
Yeah. I think it's just a sign of our age.
That's sad, but it's honestly true.
Yeah.
Yeah. Moving on, let's get to our topic of the show, which is a retrospective on the year of 2020. We're going to take a little look through, do a little bit of inner soul searching, I guess explain how we feel about ourselves after 2020 from a gaming perspective. Not necessarily from a life perspective, though if you wanted to go there, we could. Sure. And then we'll take a look at the industry as a whole, the gaming industry in particular, and see how everybody's doing right now. I got some thoughts. I got some hot takes on that in particular.
All right.
So let's start with our personal assessments. Did you change at all as a gamer this year, John? Did your likes or your dislikes change? Do you have any different tastes now that you did prior to 2020?
Yes, to a degree. I don't think I had really ever messed with roguelikes prior to 2020. And then last year I played Dead Cells and I was like, this is fun, but also I'm getting bored of it very quickly. And then I played Hades and I was like, no, this is fun and I'm not getting bored of it anytime soon. So roguelikes are now at least on my radar. And I don't know when like this happened or if I'm making like the conscious decision about this, but I feel like a couple years ago I was like, oh, I like all video games, blah, blah, blah. And now I'm like, no, there's certain video games that I'm drawn towards. Like, I think maybe just being on the podcast and reflecting on what I've done every week has made me kind of realize that. Because, like, I find that I don't really play a lot of major AAA titles that are on all the systems anymore. Like, I don't know the last time that I played, like an Assassin's Creed game. I haven't played that in years. And Call of Duty I was never really into, but, like, those kinds of games I used to be into, and I just am not anymore. And again, I don't know if that's something that really happened in 2020 or if it's just been a gradual thing.
Sure.
But, like, I have noticed that you put a charming indie title in front of me and I will enjoy it a lot more. Or if you put basically any first-party Nintendo title in front of me, I'll take that over a first-party Xbox game at this point. So I like, I'm not saying that I won't play those other games. I'm just saying that given the choice, I find myself opting to play either Nintendo games or indie little gems.
Yeah, I kind of agree to a degree, I guess.
Sure.
I am obviously, I mean, PlayStation is to me as Nintendo apparently now is to you. It used to be Xbox, yeah. I feel like, but now you're much more
and that transition happened whenever the Switch came out, and I was like, hey, I can enjoy a Nintendo console because the Wii U sucks.
Yeah. But, like, I'm always going to be interested in PlayStation's big games. But to your point, like the other games you were mentioning, the major third-party games, at least like the super mainstream ones, and I think that's the key for me, is like mainstream games like Assassin's Creed, like Call of Duty, even to a degree some of these like Ubisoft games now, like Watch Dogs, like they just aren't doing it. Yeah, and granted, like with Watch Dogs, it was the game's fault. It wasn't necessarily like my enjoyment of the game.
You had legitimate criticism of that game, not a rabble, I'm an old man.
Sure. And I haven't really enjoyed a Call of Duty since Call of Duty 4, if I'm being totally honest. But like Assassin's Creed used to be a series that I loved, and they just went too mainstream with it and tried to make it be like. Really, what I feel like they did was they tried to make it a game like a single. This is exactly what they did. They tried to make a single player game, one of 3 games that the mainstream casual gamer was going to buy in a year, like the Joe Smith or John Smith or whatever the fuck his name is that just buys like the major game at the holiday or whatever. Maybe 3 games a year. He's going to buy Madden, he's going to buy Call of Duty, and he's going to buy Assassin's Creed. And like that just doesn't appeal to me because that's not the only game that I'm going to be playing. Same with like the Destinies, and even to a degree, like I haven't played World of Warcraft in forever either. But like these games as a service, I guess, is just something that's not appealing to me anymore. Whereas it did a few years ago. I love Destiny. Destiny 2 was great. I liked playing the Division. I never got to the Division 2, but I think at that point I had already like crossed that event horizon where I'm not going to be playing games as a service, really. I have my game as a service. I have one, and it's Overwatch, and that's it. I'm not going to play anything else like that. Just because I don't have the time, and quite honestly, I don't want to put the effort in. Like I played Avengers this year, and again, that was another issue, like another game that had a ton of fucking issues with it. But even if Avengers came out and it was great, critically, I still would not be playing that right now. Like, it's not something that it appeals to me anymore. And
for sure.
I feel like I do a pretty good balance between indie and AAA games. But like I said, I'll get to this part when I go, I guess. But like, I totally agree. Where like the major huge games that everybody else is playing, I'm not necessarily interested in.
Yeah, for sure. It's like those are the games that, oh God, whenever I was maybe late high school, early college, those were the games I was always playing. I remember seeing that Ori was free on Games with Gold, and I was like, this looks like a baby game. I'm not playing this. This looks stupid, blah, blah, blah. And now I love it. I love Ori. Give me more Ori, please. And like, just these not necessarily simpler experiences, but like, I don't know the right way to phrase it. I don't need a giant with every single bell and whistle attached to it. I am more than okay with a simpler experience. And I think another big thing is with a better, arguably, story, maybe a more coherent story or a more self-contained story that like gives me actual closure whenever I beat it. Because that's the other thing with a lot of these bigger games is either people play it for the multiplayer, which I've kind of gone away from, or I mean, we talked about this before, but the Assassin's Creed game, what the hell is going on with that story?
No idea. And they refuse to advance it is the thing. And it's like, that was the one part of the story, or that was the one part of that game that was keeping me on board. Like, Assassin's Creed 1,
connection.
Assassin's Creed 1 was a novel game. Assassin's Creed 2 started at Arc. It started a 3-game arc where I cared about that character. But after Revelations, it's been a new character every game. And so there's no through line with those characters. I thought for sure after Origins, the Egyptian one, at the end of Egyptians, Bayek, who's the main character, goes to, I think, Greece, and his ex-wife, I think they get divorced, or not, what, you don't get divorced in ancient Egypt, but like I think his ex-wife or whatever, she goes to Rome. And I thought for sure that was going to be the start of like a new kind of arc where like, okay, Bayek's going to Greece. We know he's going to Greece.
Yeah.
Let's see his story. And then we get a Greece game that has him involved at none. Because the game takes place like 200 years before him when he was the one that started the Assassin's Order. So this game it's a whole fucking thing at this point.
That's the other thing. Like, that pisses me off so much whenever a game series is like, okay, we've given you, I don't know, 6 games now. We're going to give you the origin story of where this like organization or this order started. And then like 3 games later, they're like, hey, we're going to set a game 200 years prior to that.
It wasn't even 3. It was the next game. They were like, okay, here's the origins of the Assassin's Order. Okay, here's before the origins of the Assassin Order. I don't give a shit at that point. Like, come on.
And actually, that's really upsetting because if I remember right, in one of the Ezio trilogy games, you were in Rome and there was like artifacts you were discovering that were supposed to be from the founders.
I think you're right. Well,
so
that would make sense. No, that would make sense.
Egypt.
Well, right, but remember, I just said his wife went to Rome, so she could have taken some of that there. That holds up. That would make sense, because I think that when they made Origins, remember, because they went away for a year. Unity came out and they're like, okay, no Assassin's Creed next year. We're going to take a step back and reevaluate. And then they made Origins, which was a great game. I loved Origins. Origins was refreshing, and the story connected it to the like previous Assassin's Creed games.
Yeah.
But then Odyssey came out, and I guess it did probably a little bit, but again, it just like throws everything through this like ringer that doesn't make any sense. And then now you have this Valhalla game that again is appealing to a wide audience. That I need something that's like self-contained. I liked Assassin's Creed because of the connection between the games. We had the Ezio trilogy, which is really what cemented that for me. And then after that, I don't know, it just kind of like fell apart.
Yeah.
And now it's not there. So why should I care?
Long story short, my gaming preference has 100% changed. And I, again, don't know if that's a thing that really happened, if I can credit that to 2020, or if it's just been a gradual thing, but the realization that it's changed and the like acceptance of that change has basically happened in 2020. Like, I can now make decisions going forward about what games I want to keep an eye on or buy when they come out and keep up on. So, what else was on this question? Was that mostly
That was pretty much it. Do you have any, like, are there any games, I guess you covered this kind of already, but are there any, like, genres, like, outside of just, like, mainstream versus indie games? Or are there any genres? And I know you already mentioned, I guess, roguelikes.
Yeah, the only one that I can think of is roguelike. I don't believe that there was anything else I really got into. Because Hellblade was great, but I don't see myself suddenly getting into like psychological horror games. That was kind of a one-time thing, I think.
Yeah. Do you ever turn on your Xbox?
Yeah, but at this point it's to like watch Disney Plus or watch Netflix. It's rare that I turn it on to actually game.
Yeah.
And there was a point where I was considering getting a Game Pass, and I probably will in a couple months. But there's still like there were so many games that were on really good sales around Christmas and New Year's that I have a mini back catalog from recent stuff that I want to get through before I mess with Game Pass.
Sure. I guess for me, for 2020, in terms of like taste change, I think that like I realized, especially towards the end of the year, that I had been sort of like forcing my tastes to be one way.
Okay.
I think that again, especially come late December, really, I think that I have a better grasp on the games that I'm going to actually enjoy playing. Because up until now, it's been a lot of like, I want to play the new stuff. I want to play games that are new.
Water cooler games.
Yeah, exactly. Right. I want to be a part of the zeitgeist. I want to be able to have those conversations with people. Yeah. And a lot of those games just didn't land for me this year. And I think that almost all of them were because of bugs or like some issue like that. Watch Dogs was one of them. Avengers was one of them. Cyberpunk was one of them. But also, I started a lot of games last year that I never finished. And going into almost all of them, I knew I wasn't going to like it. So why the hell did I even try?
Yeah, really.
Like, looking back on what I played last year, I started Neo, which is that's that Dark Souls like samurai game that came out a few years ago, and that was a PlayStation Plus game, so that was like zero buy-in on my part. But
sure, like
I got through the first 2 levels of that, and I was like, well, I don't want to play this anymore, and I knew going in that I wasn't going to want to.
What was your stance on Dark Souls? I thought you made like a decision on how you feel on Dark Souls games.
I do. I'll get to that in a minute.
Because I know you tried to like make yourself like it.
Yeah.
Like you tried to play, obviously Neo. You tried to play Dark Souls, the remastered one.
I did. I played Dark Souls remastered. I played Demon Souls. I played Star Wars Squadrons this year. I played the original Final Fantasy VII. I played, like, I don't know, Ni no Kuni, the original Ni no Kuni game, and I don't know, like these games that I wasn't looking forward to playing it when I went into it.
Yeah, which is a bad start.
At the time, though, it was like I felt like when I started those games last year, it was because I had nothing else to play.
Yeah.
Usually it wasn't like I was like trying to decide between a game to play. It was like that was the game that, like, that was it until I was waiting for something else.
Yeah, you were trying to fill some kind of a time period waiting for a release date.
And so going forward in 2021, I don't want to waste my time with those games. If I'm not feeling a game going into it, I'm not going to even try. And like, hopefully that works out for me, but I want to use that time more wisely. So if a game's not speaking to me, it's not going to. And that's kind of where I'm at with the Somnium Files game. I like it enough. It's just not really grabbing me. Like the first 2 hours haven't grabbed me really, and one of the characters is kind of annoying. So I don't know how much more of that I'm going to play. I might just kind of like coast until Persona 5 Strikers comes out. There's a couple other games that they were supposed to release late last year that just never came out. They're all indie games, so they could literally release at any time. So I'm hoping some of those pop out, but like I need to be better this year about where I'm investing my time, because a lot of these games that I played, I mean, I played 50 games last year, and of those 50, probably 30, at least 35 of them were great, but 15 of them were not. And that's time that I'm not going to get back. So something to think about.
It's an important skill to develop, realizing when you are not really enjoying yourself and, like you said, just wasting your time. Because I feel like a lot of people try to like force it, especially on a game that they spent money on. But like at some point, it's true with everything in life. You're going to make mistakes and bad investments. Basically, it's not your fault necessarily, but you gotta learn to cut your losses at some point.
Right. And that's sort of going into the next point is with those games that I'm not enjoying, one of the common threads is that I'm not enjoying the gameplay. If I'm not enjoying the gameplay, it's a lost cause. Like if I can't get into the gameplay, if the gameplay is not hooking me, like in Spiritfarer it hooked me, I'm not going to be able to get through it unless it has like this amazing story attached to it, which is what I'm hoping the Somnium Files starts to do. I'm going to probably give it like 2 more hours because it is a visual novel essentially. So it's all about the story. I just hope that grabs me enough to be able to like continue on with it. But when it comes to games like Dark Souls, when it comes to games that do more environmental storytelling than give you an actual narrative, if I'm not enjoying the gameplay, the minute-to-minute gameplay, if I feel like I'm not getting better or enjoying myself, there's nothing else there to grab me.
No, yeah, you're boned at that point.
So, yeah, I've kind of realized that the games that are really gameplay-intensive games, I'm just not gonna enjoy usually. There might be a rare exception with something like Overwatch that I've invested so much time in. But like, I don't know. I'm trying to think of other gameplay and this goes back to the point about like what you were talking about with multiplayer. I tried a bunch of BRs I tried a bunch of multiplayer games. There was that month, I think in August, when I played all those free-to-play games. Like Spellbreak and whatever that Rogue Company and something else. that the Ubisoft BR, the one with the hacks and stuff. What was that called? Hyperscape?
Yeah, I think I played it with you like twice, and I was like, no, this is
Yeah.
I'm not having fun.
No, it's like it's like the only thing that I'm gonna get out of this is enjoying the gameplay.
Yeah,
and gameplay is just it wasn't doing it for me, and there's no story there to keep me in. So, yeah, just not enjoying gameplay as much, just overall anymore. And that's not to say that I don't like gameplay. Obviously, like playing this year, The Last of Us and Ghost of Tsushima, and there's a bunch of games that had amazing gameplay. Final Fantasy VII Remake, like I enjoy that stuff quite a bit. It's probably why this is my favorite medium, if I had to guess. But I'm at a place right now where narrative is important. And
your tastes are growing and changing and evolving, so it makes sense.
Sure. So I think those are the major ones. Not wasting my time, like figuring out what I'm gonna like, and then staying away from gameplay intensive games that don't have any other hooks. Really,
I did forget something. Kind of going back to, it's not gaming, but going back to your recap of your week. I watched a whole bunch of slice of life anime this year and really enjoyed it. It was a good time. Like, I don't need to watch the super action adventure, like the heroes are training and powering up for this giant fight. I can watch these random ass high schoolers living like everyday life. That's fine.
See,
if it's done right, then it's okay.
That's the only anime I watch. I cannot watch shonen anime, and the only reason I like My Hero Academia is because there's the academia part of it. That's literally the only reason why I like that anime. So I'm right there with you. I love slice life anime because I'm not. I can't watch. I can't watch Dragon Ball Z. I can't watch any of these like super fighting intensive shows.
That was the stuff that I used to like. That was originally when I got into this stuff. That was all I was watching, was these super combat heavy fighting shows where they just scream and power up, and it's your very stereotypical stuff. And then a couple years later, I started to get into stuff that like had a bit more substance, like your Full Metal Alchemist, where there's still action, but there's a way complex plot going on.
There's a lot of political drama going on.
Yeah, and like Hunter x Hunter, yeah, it's a lot about fighting, but there's a lot of relationship development and growth, and like just really good story as well. But yeah, no, I finally made the jump, and I can enjoy stuff that is just story and no need for anybody to fight, really.
Yeah, just let's all not necessarily love each other, because a lot of the great slice of life anime, there's always something, not going great for somebody, usually.
Oh yeah, there wouldn't be a story if everything was going fine.
That said, with slice of life anime, I can't do like the over dramatized sad, like the anime that's supposed to be like, especially shoujo anime that is intended to be like, please cry at this kind of stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I don't know if you've ever seen Your Lie in April, but I watched 2 episodes of that. I'm like, this is so fucking. I can't do this.
I was okay with it. I watched it.
But
I know where you're coming from. We're gonna have a very angry Discord member, by the
way. Sorry. I can't do that. Like, something about it just like, it turns me off. I just can't pay attention. It's like, I don't care about this.
Hey, everybody's got their own preferences, so
sure.
Like I remember I think you at one point tried Sound Euphonium and you just couldn't do it. I don't know if that was the same reasons or
it was sort of the same. It wasn't exactly the same. I of the one episode that I watched of EBK, Euphonium, the thing that turned me off of that show is that I'm a musician.
Too relatable.
No, it's not that it was too relatable. It's that I'm a musician, and the fucking stuff they were doing in that show was not correct. Like, yeah, I can't take I cannot take when there is a conductor and they're doing this thing that's not conducting, and like everybody's playing music, and it like somebody that's never before played in any kind of like symphonic band or whatever, they have no idea what that person at the fucking podium's even doing. I do know, and if the show isn't going to do enough goddamn research to fucking make that person animate the right thing, I'm not giving it my attention. I'm not doing it. It's so
all right.
It's such an oversight that just it was like no, not doing it. No. I got very worked up about that. I remember that.
I can tell it's coming out right now. Anyways, Slice of Life.
Yes.
Good shit. Try it out sometime if you haven't.
I'm trying to think if there's any other, like, I guess this year I keep divulging further down the Japanese game rabbit hole where, like, I started with Nier Automata and Ni no Kuni 2, and then it turned into Persona, and now I'm playing Yakuza and Final Fantasy. And I don't know that I'm ever going to be at a place where, like, I'm playing something like Xenoblade Chronicles, but, like,
yeah,
I'm enjoying the more adult-focused Japanese games.
Yeah, that's fair.
I also feel like those developers, and this is sort of bleeding into the next topic, I feel like Japanese game developers have taken a major step in the last 5 years.
I am inclined to agree.
Especially when you look at, like, okay, so FromSoft has been doing their own thing for a while now, but, like, Atlas has really become more mainstream, and that's something. But even Square, like, the games that Square Enix is putting out right now is nothing like what they were putting out 5 years ago. I feel like they've grown up a lot. Capcom too. Capcom's doing pretty well. So been playing more Japanese games. That's really it. Not very much multiplayer. Really, the only time I'm playing a multiplayer game is either Overwatch by myself or when I'm playing something with you, which is going to be right now. Last year it was Among Us for a day or two, and then
there was that. Well, there was also that Fall Guys stint.
Yeah.
So,
but like Fall Guys is the kind of multiplayer game that I would get behind. You know.
Oh yeah, for sure.
So we'll see if there's anything like that this year.
That might just be more Fall Guys.
Let's move on into the industry side of this. So let's take a minute here to discuss how the publishers are doing. We'll start off with Xbox. It was a big year for at least two of the publishers, who were also console manufacturers.
Yeah.
How do you think Microsoft's 2020 went?
They are the most, to me, lukewarm. Because they did have a successful console launch, I think. But their major flagship game got delayed and is maybe going to be reworked. So that's not something you want to see. But the biggest thing that I think we saw, and we had discussed this at one point when they were having their back and forth conferences with PlayStation, was they have finally revealed who they are and who they want to be, which is that streaming service, that Sea of Sevens. Like they want to basically be the Netflix of games. And now that we know that, it makes things a lot easier to understand as a consumer about why they're making certain decisions. As for like how they're doing, I mean, they have endless money, so they're just fine, and it seems like they are successfully doing this whole streaming thing. But in terms of like actual game development, it just feels like we keep on getting told it's coming. Like it feels like the Brown syndrome, where it's like next year is our year, and it's like, is it?
And then they fire their quarterback and they get a new one, and then they fire their head coach the next year and they get a new one, and then they fire their whoever the fuck the next year and get a new one.
Like, I'm just waiting for some of these games that they've been talking about and these studios that they have recently acquired to finally like put something out.
Yeah.
That's at least my kind of assessment of Microsoft Xbox.
Yeah, I don't know. I honestly don't know how they did.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Lukewarm.
I know that Phil Spencer came out I don't know if it was before or after the Series X launch, but he said, don't expect the Series X to do very well this year because COVID has made manufacturing difficult.
Yeah.
Which I believe. But I don't know, like, what they were thinking. Like, what were they forecasting? I'm trying to just Google right now, like, what were they forecasting units to be? And to be fair, Xbox has not given us sales numbers since, like, 2015 was the last time they gave us any sort of console sales numbers. Yeah. Because the Xbox One just did so poorly. This article I'm looking at right now from a website that I don't know whether or not it's legit. It looks like through the end of December, Series X sold somewhere around 1.5 million units. Maybe 1.5 to 1.75 million, and PS5 sold somewhere between 2.5 to 3 million. So sure. Basically 2 to 1, essentially, almost. And I mean, PlayStation has positioned itself to be, received well, and they have additional markets because the Xbox market just doesn't exist in Japan.
Yeah, I was going to say, the one area I know for sure Xbox is doing horribly is in Japan.
Right. And yeah, so actually they do have this broken out. And again, I don't know where they get these numbers from, but in the US, looks like a Series X was above Switch but below PS5. Where'd it go?
That sounds right.
And then in Europe, the PS5 was way up there. The Switch was below that, and Xbox was below Switch even. And then in Japan, in Japan, I mean, Switch is selling the highest, which isn't necessarily surprising because Japan has always trended more mobile than anything. Like the PlayStation Portable, the reason why the PlayStation Portable is the second best selling handheld ever behind the 3DS is because
Japan,
yeah. But yeah, the Switch is selling gangbusters. PS5's below that, and Xbox Series X is at like less than 50,000 units sold in Japan.
Yeah, it's gonna be low.
So obviously, PlayStation has that to its advantage. Not to mention that they sort of spent the last 10 years building a player base that like enjoys PlayStation. I'm one of those people. Microsoft just doesn't have that going for them. I just wonder, like, what is a success for them? Because I don't necessarily know that the Xbox is. I keep going back to this, and the industry does too. Like, how many more console generations are there going to be? How many more Xboxes are there going to be? With xCloud coming, maybe no more. Because I just don't see them making this system and like selling it in a way that's going to be lucrative for them. If they're not even hitting, like, if they're already losing to Sony 2 to 1. Again, it's early, but like that's not a great sign. And they don't have any games coming out probably this calendar year. Other than like maybe smaller games from their smaller studios. Like Psychonauts 2 is probably going to come out this year. But Psychonauts 2 isn't God of War 2. Psychonauts 2 isn't Horizon Zero Dawn 2. So I don't know. I really don't know. Like it seems like they had a successful launch. People like the Series X.
You still can't like find them regularly, as far as I know.
Yeah.
So that's seemingly a good sign.
And they have positioned Game Pass to be in a place that's very, very well off.
Yeah.
I just kind of think that maybe they're like sunsetting some of our expectations when it comes to consoles. And I don't doubt that, again, COVID played into their manufacturing issues, but they went up against the same manufacturing issues that PlayStation did. Yeah. So it can't just be that.
I don't know. I hesitate to be like, oh, this is it for them making consoles, because I feel like Nintendo was in like the same position a couple years ago where people were like, oh, Nintendo's probably just going to become a software developer. They're just going to become like a big third party at this point. And then they came out with a Switch, and it's like, all right, well... And Nintendo's different, obviously, because they don't play by anybody else's rule book. But that mentality of counting a major one of the console creators out never seems to play out well.
Sure. I guess my take there is, I obviously Xbox isn't going anywhere.
No,
I think
it's Microsoft.
I don't know that a console is what it like with Nintendo. You have a company that is very insular, and they refuse to let anybody touch their IP unless it's handled in the exact way that they want it to be.
Yeah.
But Microsoft isn't like that. Microsoft's like, okay, you can have Banjo-Kazooie. Okay, you can have Minecraft Steve. Okay, you can have whatever else. Like all of their exclusives are on PC day one. I feel like they're starting to again lay some of that groundwork, even with the purchase of Bethesda. Like I obviously they don't want to talk about what that means for exclusives.
No.
And this is just my own take on it, but like if they just become EA, but they're Microsoft, they can still have their own streaming platform, and that's where the games are. Again, they can sell their games on PlayStation and somebody can buy them for $60 on PlayStation, or they can just subscribe to Game Pass and get it over here. That might be there's at least I can see the groundwork. It's not like with Nintendo where it was like, okay, well, they're just not going to make a console and they're going to put their stuff everywhere. That doesn't really make sense for Nintendo. But with Xbox, they have the service already to do that. They have the technical capability to do that.
Do you think Microsoft's trying to be like a new console-friendly version of Steam?
I wouldn't doubt it. I really don't know what to make of them because they play nice with Steam.
Yeah.
All their games are on Steam. You can buy the Master Chief Collection on Steam, even though you can also buy it on the Xbox Store. They have their own storefront on PC, but they also put their games on Steam. That contrasts so heavily with what Epic does on the PC platform. So I really don't know. Like the Microsoft is just this enigma right now where I feel like they're just trying to dip their toes into like 8 different pools.
Yeah.
Just so that when they have to make the decision, they have options.
Sure.
But to your point,
it is very weird that they play so nice with they play nice with GameStop. Like,
what the fuck is all the GameStop stuff? Hi, yeah, if you buy an Xbox Series X here, or if you sell an Xbox Series X to our consumers, if they buy digital sales, we'll give you a piece of that. Why?
I don't know.
Yeah. I feel like at the end of 2020, Microsoft, now more than ever, is an enigma. They are now like on Nintendo's level almost. The difference is that Xbox plays nice and Nintendo doesn't. We never know.
This is what we would have if Nintendo played nice.
I think so. Like with Nintendo, they don't like anybody, and if they don't say something or if they're being secretive, we just have no idea. With Microsoft, we have no idea what they're gonna do, but it's probably gonna be like gamer friendly at the end of the day, or it's gonna be it's gonna be a good thing. I just don't know what that thing is. And this year for them, I feel like is gonna be so lackluster. Like Halo Infinite would need to come out, and it would need to be like not only like every Halo player's dream, which I feel like is a lower bar than like everybody, like every FPS player's dream. This has to be the game to sell the console, because if they truly go through this entire year, and to this point, like we only saw a 4-second Fable teaser, and we saw a 10-second in-engine cutscene of Perfect Dark, and that Oathbreaker game, whatever that game was from Obsidian that looks kind of like Skyrim. Like we've only seen a bit of that. I don't know that. I don't think any of those are this year. I could be wrong. We could get maybe that Obsidian game this fall. But if we truly go through this entire year and the only big AAA offering from Microsoft is Halo, and it's not like the perfect Halo,
If it's not Halo 1, like the magic of Halo 1 when it came out.
Yeah, like what was this whole year about? What else do they have? I don't know. How do they get good press? Like how are they selling units? That's the thing. Like PlayStation is going to have 2 or 3 at least as long as COVID, doesn't fuck anything up and as long as everything's on schedule, PlayStation's going to have at least 2 or 3 big launches this year that Microsoft is going to have to contend with in some way to sell units. And if they don't contend with them in any way, we could see a situation by the end of this year where PlayStation is outselling Xbox like 4-1. It would be insane.
That's true. Who knows what they're doing?
Yeah, for real.
Certainly not us.
So let's go to Nintendo. How's Nintendo doing, John?
Oh my god.
How are they doing over there in Kyoto?
Man, talk about like polar opposites, but at the same time, because they have all the money in the world, but I think they also have all of the. It's weird, and it's obvious. It was obvious that this was going to happen, but they had all of the gaming world's hate for like 3 weeks, and then they were like, "Hey, here's Sephiroth, and here's something with Mario," and everybody's like, "Oh, we love you."
Yeah,
and it's like. I mean, I can't be mad because I knew that this was going to happen, but like I feel like a lot of people are still really pissed off at them, and yet they are doing financially so well.
So well. Like I just literally I'll post this website in the Discord, the QTE discussion channel on Discord. If you're listening to this podcast, you're not a member of the Discord server, come join Discord. You can find the link somewhere. You can find it on YouTube. I'll post it on Twitter too, rather. But come join the Discord server and take a look at this link I posted, because the Switch sales are insane. They're insane.
It's ridiculous. Not only just the console sales, but I mean, we saw Animal Crossing become like the second, maybe third best selling title on the Switch. And the Switch has been out for 4 years, and Animal Crossing has been out for like 10 months.
Yeah.
And somehow it's already in that position. Which again, I guess thank you, pandemic. Like,
sure.
Really played in Nintendo's hand.
And like, go back to the point you made about people no longer being mad at them. This is just their brand now. Like, I feel like everybody just forgives them because they know it's not going to get any better. Like, that this is just what you get when you talk about this company, and we just got to accept it, I guess.
That, or they just know. They know what you want. That when they give it to you, you'll forgive them. As like their fan base, because like. Yeah, there's all this rage and anger and stuff, but like they know that to subdue that, all that they have to do is say, "Hey, here's this really cool character that nobody expected out of Super Smash." Like they know how to pacify their audience.
Is there anything they could do to alienate their audience enough where it would have to force them to like reevaluate themselves?
I don't think so. I really don't think so, because we've seen basically every form of doing that. Like, we saw them take down all of the like YouTube videos and all the soundtracks that were up anywhere, and people were pissed, and now they're fine. We saw them go after those Eticons or whatever, the like Joy-Cons that were going towards a charity, I think. And people were like, all right, we're mad, and now we're not. They've always been stupidly protective of everything. They're like, we found out that Nintendo ninjas are real. Like, they were stalking people who were making emulators, and okay, a month goes by, and now we're fine with them. Like, I don't think that there's anything they can do.
That is fucked up. And the thing is, like, usually... You look at the hate that Sony's gotten, or the hate that Microsoft has gotten for things. Like, Halo fucking looked like trash at that Xbox reveal event. And within a month, they had gotten a new game director in there, and it's delayed and it's not going to come out for however long, and like we're taking care of it. The thing with Nintendo though is that they don't put out games like that.
Yeah.
Like their games are always super polished, and I feel like that's the one, and that's the reason why everybody loves them is the thing, and that's the thing they do so well. I just don't feel like there's anything like they would need to release the next Mario game or the next Legend of Zelda game, and for it to be just completely borked.
Yeah, it would need to be broken, trash, and have a just garbage story.
And then they would need to like be super just like not what's the right word?
But they would need to do this repeatedly,
and
people would give them the benefit of the doubt if it happened once.
And they would need to be obstinate about it. They would need to be like, "Well, fuck, that's the game we wanted to make. I don't care that it's buggy. We wanted it to be buggy." That's like when you see the Cyberpunk story that we may or not cover today, from their apology or their road forward or whatever the fuck you want to call it that they put out yesterday. They didn't give a fuck in that thing. They're like, "We made money. We're sorry, I guess. Someone's making us do this. So." Here, take it or leave it, basically.
Yeah.
They would have to do that. And I don't know that...
Which they're never going to do.
No.
I feel like Nintendo is basically the video game form of Apple, where, and I think that this is the philosophy at Apple too, they don't make stuff for the consumer. They make things that they want to make, which they make it really well to the point that the consumer wants it. They're not going to be friendly to the consumer, and it's the same thing with Apple. Like you have the iOS system is so locked into itself, like you can't do anything with other stuff like you can on Android phones. But so many people buy into it because it's so polished, and it's what people want. But again, they're not making it for you. They're making it because it's the product that they want to make.
Yeah, I really can't think of a way for them to fuck up that bad.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's kind of disheartening where like we have this year that's just a shitty year, and they make, again, what you just said, they make the games that they want to make, but they just so happen to make the games that we also want. And so we as a species fucking gobble it up and buy as many of them as we can because we're all locked inside. And we want to have mundane tasks to do all day long. And then it reinforces it's negative reinforcement.
It's positive reinforcement of a negative behavior.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's what I meant. Whatever.
We're not yelling at them. We're rewarding them with money after they did one thing good but 8 things bad. And of course, they're not sitting there being like, "Oh, okay, we did this one thing good and these other 8 things bad." They're like, "We did 9 things and we got a ton of money, so let's do all 9 things again."
Moving on to PlayStation. Have any thoughts on PlayStation as a non-PlayStation person?
I mean, it seems like they're doing real well. They're you can't buy a PS5 anywhere. I really do wonder how long that's going to be a thing. How many? We had a lot of really good games come out from them too.
Yeah,
and a lot of really good games set for this calendar year as well. So I'd say that, like, I don't know if I'd say that they were as quote unquote successful as Nintendo, but at the very least a close second.
Yeah, I don't know from a monetary perspective, like how to, obviously whoever made the most money wins there
is the winner,
but I don't know who made the most money because obviously my Nintendo had a banner year. However, Sony does have 100 million, 100 fucking million PS4s out in the wild, whereas Switch isn't that high yet. Switch attach rates, though, are usually higher. More people, like Switch owners, have more games usually than PS4 owners.
Yeah.
So there's just a lot of ways to analyze that. And
it's really hard to quantify and qualify.
But in my eyes, and I'm trying to be as objective as I can here because I realize that I'm a fanboy, but I really do feel like PlayStation had the best year last year when it comes to the major publishers.
That's fair.
you look at the games they put out from their first party, and yeah, that includes the 2 last games on PS4, which is a Naughty Dog game with The Last of Us Part 2, which was very critically acclaimed. And you have the Ghost of Tsushima, which came out from Sucker Punch and really elevated that studio and was also very critically acclaimed, and was, very beloved by the general public, especially. And then, I feel like I don't remember, even though I played a lot of these games, I don't remember about the PlayStation 5 launch games. Because I think about the launch of the consoles last year, and usually console launches don't really include that many games, and if they do, they're like ports from the last gen, or they're games that come out on both, or they're like these dumb... What was that game that came out on 360 that was a launch game? It was like Cameo or something. It's just
that sounds right.
It's these games that don't matter, and they're just bad. But that's not what happened. Not only did we get The Last of Us and Ghost of Tsushima, but we also got a Spider-Man game, we got a Demon Souls game, we got a Sackboy game, we got Astro's Playroom. Those 4 games are great, and they all came out on the launch day of the PlayStation 5. Software-wise, they put out so much last year, and that's not even taking into account the PS5. They successfully launched a console during a pandemic that is selling out wherever it's being sold almost instantaneously.
That's the big thing. If there wasn't such stock shortage and they were able to sell as many units as people wanted to buy, I would have no issue saying, all right, PlayStation 1 2020. But I just don't know. They're limited by how much they can literally just manufacture right now.
Yeah.
That's the only thing that's really stopping them from having as much success as they choose to have.
Sure. But from a true publishing standpoint, again, not necessarily monetarily, not necessarily in other aspects, I guess, but from just the publishing standpoint, they had the best year I think they've ever had before, with 2 huge AAA games and a bunch of great AAA games that came out. Not AAA, 2 first-party games that came out, 2 huge AAA first-party games, and then all of the stuff that came out at the launch of the PS5.
Everything from Sony, I think, was very well received.
Yeah,
and you're forgetting Royal came out too.
True, which is a third-party game, but a Sony exclusive.
Third-party, but exclusive, so
yeah,
that helps them.
They, it's just, I feel like they're in such a strong place, and that's not to say that this all couldn't change at some point with streaming. Specifically, I think that's the thing that might cause a wrinkle in their dynasty that they're building right now. I think that the only way, and we talked about this a while ago, but I think the only way that Xbox ever maybe eats into this dynasty that they've built is if people start adopting streaming and they adopt into Game Pass and xCloud, because then it becomes a thing where, okay, it's a monthly fee. I don't need a system. I just need my TV or my PC or whatever it is. And we have exclusive games. We have all of this stuff that is day one. And that's really what's come to the head with the Bethesda acquisition, but then also with EA's EA Play or whatever it's called, and I think Ubisoft's thing. There are games that are going to be day one games on Game Pass from third-party publishers now. Yeah. And that wasn't a thing before 2020.
The people like you and I from 10 years ago who just wanted to play these big AAA third-party studio games, they just need to now spend $10 a month. Right. They don't need to buy a console. They don't need to buy the game. So they just spend $120 a year, and they get what they would have normally had to spend at least $200 broken out over a year on.
So unless something changes where a lot of people start to go that direction, I really don't see Sony stumbling at any point right now. Unless they have I don't know that this can happen at this, in this day and age. Cyberpunk is such an exception to the AAA rule.
Yeah.
AAA games usually come out and they're at least an 8. They're usually, you don't get games that are shit when they're AAA games.
Yeah.
Unless there's something really wrong with them.
That's kind of why they've earned that AAA.
Sure. And so with Sony's Studios games, I don't think they can really, unless they have a slew of games that are just mediocre. Like the next thing that Naughty Dog does, God of War being mediocre. Like if they have 2 or 3 games in a row that are sort of not the 10 out of 10 that we expect from them at this point, maybe then you get some people start to reconsider. But like, I don't know how they stumble unless there's a hardware change. Because that's the thing, that's their Achilles heel. They have put all of their faith into their hardware. If people stop buying PlayStations, eventually PlayStation's going to have a problem. We're not anywhere near that point right now, but at some point they will need to probably respond to that. But I think that after the 2020 year that they had, they have positioned themselves to be in the best place. They draw their ire from the community, from gamers, from PlayStation fans too. They get flack for things. They don't get anywhere near as much flack as Nintendo does, though.
No.
And they aren't anywhere near as anti-consumer in a lot of ways as Nintendo is. They're not as great as Microsoft, but they're not as bad as Nintendo.
A nice middle ground.
In the public eyes, they're doing okay. They're putting out amazing games. They've positioned themselves very well financially with the launch of their new console. I just think they had a banner year.
I can agree with that.
Last up, quick look over the third parties. Ubisoft.
Here's where my knowledge takes a big old nosedive.
EA, Ubisoft, Square Enix, Sega, etc. Do you have any thoughts on any of those publishers?
No specific thoughts that are grounded in reality. I see EA and I just get kind of mad at this point. Like it's just a knee-jerk reaction
kind of thing. Yeah.
Yeah. So like if they did anything right, it flew under my radar. If they did anything wrong, I just assume that it like happened that way.
The major things that the major takeaways I guess I have a few little nuggets here. Nothing like substantial, but
sure.
I'm concerned about Ubisoft. Before this year, I guess it was really last year, 2019, last 2 years ago, 2019, Ubisoft was able to shake off, what the fuck was that company's name? There was a company that was trying to acquire Ubisoft, like a hostile takeover. They were trying to buy shares of Ubisoft to take over the company.
I don't remember this.
Ubisoft hostile takeover. It was a kind of a famous company. Vivendi. Vivendi was trying to basically take over Ubisoft. And at the end of 2019, at some point, they were able to shake that off. And now Vivendi's no longer interested. So they were able to like retain themselves. Because the issue with that was, okay, Vivendi's going to take over Ubisoft and Ubisoft's going to lose their flavor or like their creative independence or that kind of stuff.
They're going to have to go after the dollar mark at this point.
The issue,
or somebody else.
The issue that I have with Ubisoft after 2020 is that they shook off Vivendi and then they became that company anyway.
Yeah.
Like Ubisoft for a long time has sort of had a very similar formula for all their AAA games. After the popularity of Assassin's Creed, Watch Dogs is just Assassin's Creed but with a GTA coat of paint, and Far Cry is just sort of Assassin's Creed with a whatever Far Cry's is.
Yeah, whatever Far Cry's theme is.
A poorly painted coat of paint. And all of their games have very similar play styles and very similar tasks you need to do and gameplay elements. The issue this year, though, and again, COVID throws everything into array, but the games came out and they were not good. They came out and not only were they the same as they've always been, like they were too generic to Ubisoft, they also had a lot of bugs. Or they just had elements that were lacking or missing entirely. Watch Dogs was not good, and to my knowledge, they haven't really patched it all that much. So my issue with Ubisoft going forward is like, what's the plan, guys? Because
what's going to change?
I don't know that they're tracking any of that. I don't know that they care. I think they're in the Nintendo boat where they're like, this is just us now. This is what we do. This is what we do. Assassin's Creed sold gangbusters, so let's just keep doing that. And that's concerning to me.
A little bit. From a studio that I used to honestly probably consider one of my favorites. Now completely off my radar.
Yeah. The other thing that comes to mind is Square. I don't know how Square Enix can put out such amazing games and also at the same time such crap.
Yeah. I really don't understand Square. Square to me is the right after Xbox, Square is the enigma here.
Like the games that they put out in the last 5 years have not been like Final Fantasy 15 was fine. It wasn't great. It wasn't memorable. Kingdom Hearts 3 to Kingdom Hearts fans, I'm pretty sure I remember Kingdom Hearts fans not liking Kingdom Hearts 3.
Yeah, I know some people who played it and they were like, this was not worth the wait.
The Avengers.
Which is not what you want to hear.
The Avengers. They fucked up the Avengers. One of their studios fucked up the Avengers. One of their Western studios fucked up Avengers, but still. But then they could put out a game like Final Fantasy VII Remake, which is one of the best games of the year. And it's like, and the game director, I can't remember his name, but the game director of Final Fantasy VII Remake is the same game director that did Kingdom Hearts 3. So like there's a through line there. How does that dude make those two games? And like, it doesn't make any sense.
Don't get it.
So I don't know if this is like I don't know if Final Fantasy VII Remake was the what's the adage?
I don't know, but I was gonna say maybe they were like the game director was just being like, all right, I'm spending 90% of my time on Final Fantasy VII and then 10% of my time signing off on forums for changes and not reading them for Kingdom Hearts 3.
Could be. But like I feel like Square is like the biggest wild card here because the games that they put out are so diverse. They have like such a weird stable of stuff. They are the anti-Ubisoft where none of their games look the same. But I also feel like that just makes them so mysterious. I have no idea what to expect.
If you took off the publisher like little logo at the like boot up of a game and you sat somebody down who understood how games worked but had never really played any, and you had them play all the Ubisoft games and then all the Square games, they would be able to figure out that all the Ubisoft games were by the same company. And they would have no idea that all the Square games were by that same company.
Interesting. We'll see how 2021 goes. I think that, we did a lot of forecasting here too, but I'm really excited to see what PlayStation does with its games. I'm excited to see how Xbox decides to move forward. Hopefully Nintendo decides to be a little bit more friendly.
Yeah.
Let's go to the news. Got a few news stories for you today. The first, and arguably the biggest, is that Lucasfilm Games is back. This article, back sort of. This article comes from gamesindustry.biz. Rebecca Valentine writes, Lucasfilm has announced a new unifying identity behind all gaming titles connected to Lucasfilm. Lucasfilm Games. In a blog post on StarWars.com, Lucasfilm announced new social channels for Lucasfilm Games, as well as a new logo that will appear in all future Lucasfilm Games titles. Lucasfilm's legacy in gaming stretches back decades, reads the post.
That name.
And with Lucasfilm and the galaxies far, far away entering a new and unprecedented phase of creativity, so will the world of Lucasfilm Games, develop in collaboration with the finest studios across the country. Industry. The name Lucasfilm Games has existed for decades, initially as the video game development group of Lucasfilm, founded in 1982, It was renamed during a reorganization in 1990 to LucasArts, which was later acquired by Disney along with Lucasfilm in 2012. However, LucasArts was all but shut down in 2013 when Disney laid off its staff, shuttered its in-progress projects, and converted the business into a licensing arm. That same year, EA signed a multi-year exclusive licensing deal with LucasArts to develop Star Wars titles, a deal which will expire in 2023 if not renewed.
Spoiler alert, it's not getting renewed.
Narrator, it was not getting renewed. So Lucasfilm Games is back. I kind of wish they just went back to LucasArts. Like, LucasArts is the one that we know, right? Like, that's the one that's been around since the 90s. They did all those Tim Schafer adventure games. They are responsible for a lot of those Star Wars games that are the most nostalgic, like the Jedi.
They could have cashed in on other people's success, and we would have been none the wiser.
Yeah, just like Telltale. Just like Telltale. Like the Jedi Knight, Jedi Outcast, the Dark Forces games, all those like X-Wing and TIE Fighter games, and Knights of the Old Republic. All of those games were under LucasArts banner. It's exciting that they are bringing that back. I kind of like, I don't know that much about Disney, but
neither do I, except that they own like everything.
Sure. Back in what they say in 2013, so 8 years ago.
Gross. Don't ever say that again.
I know that Disney shut down all of their game development projects. They had that figure, that Toys to Life game. Remember Disney Infinity, I think? Was that what it called?
Disney Infinity. Mm-hmm.
That was like their biggest game, and they shut everything down because it wasn't making money. And they decided at that point to, one, give EA the Star Wars license. And then with Marvel, they didn't really do anything with it, actually. They were just like, okay, we're just going to sit on this. And then like 5 years later, it was in like 2017... right when I think the first game that was announced, it was either Insomniac's Spider-Man or it was, funny enough, Telltale's Guardians of the Galaxy. It was one of those two games. Disney came out and said, okay, we're going to take the Marvel license and we're going to give it to creators who make interesting things. Like, we're going to be intelligent about who we're giving these licenses to so that we know we're going to get a quality product out at the end. We're not just going to get the Iron Man 3 tie-in game. We're going to get something worthwhile.
Yes.
And so Telltale's Guardians game was okay. Spider-Man, obviously, amazing. Then I guess they're going to continue doing that now with Star Wars. Because as of yesterday, was this today? Yesterday. Lucasfilm and Ubisoft partner on a Star Wars game, says GamesIndustry.biz. Marie D'Alessandri says that Lucasfilm is to team up with Ubisoft on a new open-world Star Wars game. The title will be developed by Massive Entertainment, with Wired reporting that it will be the first time a non-mobile, non-Lego Star Wars game is made outside of EA since Disney acquired Lucasfilm in 2012. I'm just going to skip to the bottom. In an interview with StarWars.com, VP of Lucasfilm Games, Douglas Riley, clarified that EA will continue to work on Star Wars titles going forward, with several projects currently in the works. We're really proud of the games we have created with EA, he says. We will continue working with them, and our relationship has never been stronger. While we may not have a lot of details to share at the moment, we've got a number of projects underway with the talented teams at EA. So
that feels like a lie.
I don't know that it does. I mean, since Battlefront 2, because EA took a lot of criticism with their handling of the Star Wars license after Battlefront 2. They launched Battlefront 1, the remake or the reboot or whatever you want to fucking call it. That was a game that a lot of people were looking forward to. People were annoyed when that game came out and it did not have a single player campaign.
Yes.
That was really the only qualm with it. The game was great. The multiplayer was awesome. Battlefront 2 comes out, and now it's a different issue. Now it's microtransactions and pay to win and all this stuff. At that point, that was the low point. That was when there were reports of Disney being like, well, what's going on over here? Do we need to have a talk, EA? What's going on? But that was in 2017. That was a long time ago.
I guess that's fair.
Since then, we've gotten 2 Star Wars games that were received very well, with Jedi Fallen Order and now Star Wars Squadrons that came out last year. People are never happy. Obviously, people want more Star Wars games, and now we're going to get those Star Wars games, but I don't think that EA's really in a bad place. Like, Jedi Fallen Order, I feel like resolved a lot of people's issues. We got the game that we wanted. There are a couple other Star Wars games that EA's we know are working on. We know we're getting a Jedi Fallen Order sequel. They have another team that's working on some, I think it was like a bounty hunter game. I can't remember now, but
that rings a bell. Yeah.
I feel like that's not so much a lie. I definitely think they're going to continue, especially with the popularity of The Mandalorian and with all of the new Star Wars stuff that they announced last month or 2 months ago now. I really feel like that they're really going to start like really pumping out Star Wars stuff. Whether that's a good thing or not, I don't know. It might not be, but I think that we will get a lot more. It's interesting that they picked Ubisoft. That's kind of not what I wanted to hear, quite honestly.
Based on our just discussion from, I don't know, 10 minutes ago, I would agree. Now we get Assassin's Creed, but with the space paint on it.
That's what I don't want. I don't want want Assassin's Creed. And the reason why, I think for the thumbnail for this one, I was trying to find an image of Ezio Auditore with just a transparent background so I didn't have to cut it out myself. And I was going to try and like impose a Jar Jar face onto Ezio. that was sort of what I had in my head for the thumbnail for this podcast. But
we'll see if it happens.
Yeah, I don't know. I'm glad that Star Wars is being opened up again because honestly, I would fucking love it if they went back to Microsoft and was like, "Hey, Obsidian, I know that you got your hands full now with you have the Skyrim like game. You now have maybe the ability to do a Fallout New Vegas 2 or like a new Fallout game." Because Microsoft now owns Bethesda. But, like, you also did a pretty good Knights of the Old Republic game. You want to bring that series back? That would be pretty awesome if Microsoft got an exclusive Star Wars game.
That would certainly help.
So
help the cause.
We'll see how fast they start announcing games. I was kind of thinking, because the Lucasfilm announcement was on Monday. That, hey, LucasArts is becoming Lucasfilm's Games, and it's back. We're making games. It's a thing. Monday, we got something I'll talk about here in just a second. And then Tuesday, we got this. Or Tuesday, we got the other thing. And then Wednesday, we got this announcement. So I was thinking maybe like every day this week we were going to get something. I don't think we got anything today.
Nope. No dice.
But Star Wars is expanding.
Once again.
The other game that I mentioned on Tuesday was Indiana Jones. Also from Rebecca Valentine over at GamesIndustry.biz, Bethesda Softworks today announced that it is making a new Indiana Jones game in collaboration with Lucasfilm. Actually, Lucasfilm Games. In a post on Twitter, the soon-to-be Microsoft subsidiary announced that the game will feature an original story and will be developed at its Machine Games studio, with Todd Howard serving as executive producer. The post mentioned neither platforms nor a release window, but cautioned fans that it'll be some time before we have more to reveal.
Makes sense.
That's really the extent of the news we got. Was just a short little teaser trailer that like panned over some like basically like the map shot kind of thing, and then just the Machine Games logo. So yeah, we got 2 confirmed Lucasfilm games with Indiana Jones and the Star Wars game at Massive.
They're back.
I'm actually really excited for the Indiana Jones one because Machine Games is an amazing studio. And if I was going to pick a studio to make an Indiana Jones game that's not named Naughty Dog because they already did that basically, it would probably be Machine Games, honestly. It's not like the thing that would pop into my head first, but it makes so much sense when you think about it.
Yeah.
Like the alternate history that they did in Wolfenstein, while absurd in a lot of ways,
Well, yes.
it's still very like grounded in a way. And even though it's not, even though you literally go into outer space and you shoot Hitler in a space station, there's still like there's still a lot of like world building that they had to do before they got to that point.
They didn't just throw you into that situation. They were like, listen, if you follow us from the start, you'll understand. They do the record scratch thing where they're like,
how did we get to this?
Bet you're wondering how I got here. Well, let me explain. And it makes sense.
Yeah. I mean, if there's a studio that hates Nazis, it's Machine Games. So I'm all for them making an Indiana Jones game. I don't know what it's going to be like, because they have done first-person shooters in the past, and I don't know that Indiana Jones is really a first-person shooter.
No. It's a third-person action-adventure whip-based game.
Yeah. So we'll see what they end up doing, but I love Machine Games. The last game they put out, that Wolfenstein Youngblood game it forced you to play multiplayer through the whole thing. That was just like, I hope like a blip, because the other Wolfenstein games they put out were fucking amazing games. So looking forward to that. It might be enough to make me buy an Xbox Series X even.
We will see. Time will tell.
Next news story comes from the Pokemon Company. Finally, some good news, says Michael McWertor over at Polygon.com. New Pokemon Snap will be released for Nintendo Switch on April 30th. Nintendo and the Pokemon Company announced Thursday. The sequel to the original Pokemon Snap, released in 1999 for Nintendo 64, will send players to the Lental region, where they'll snap photos of Pokemon in the wild.
I hate that region name.
I hate a lot of stuff. Players will work with Professor Mirror and his assistant Rita on an ecological survey to photograph lentil Pokemon thriving in nature, according to a news release. Players will tour the Lentil Islands in an on-rails vehicle known as the Neo 1 through various paths. Lentil Pokemon will be attracted to Fluff Fruit, an edible item which will assuredly make photographing creatures in the wild much easier. As with the original Pokemon Snap, players' photos of Pokemon will be judged on their pose, how large creatures appear in photos, whether they're facing the camera lens, and where they fall in frame. Pokemon behavior will change over time, and players may see Pokemon behaving in entirely new ways. A news release also teases a new phenomenon native to the Lental region, which is called Illumina, a mysterious glow that emits from some Pokemon.
No.
Very mysterious. I hate that it's called the Lental region.
Same.
I hate that the professor's name is Professor Mirror.
I don't like that either.
And I hate that they have chosen to stay on the on-rails, whatever that is.
I'm indifferent at the moment.
I'm sure this is going to be fine. I know that they're really just trying to I know that they're not like trying to make this like a vastly improved experience over the 64 version.
Yeah.
This is really fan service more than anything.
100%.
It's just, I can't get over Bug Snacks, because Bug Snacks is that. Can you like take away the ridiculous part of Bug Snacks, but Bug Snacks mechanics in a Pokemon world would be amazing.
Yeah, a little bit. That would work really well.
But we're not going to get that. We're going to get this. This is not going to be a game that I play, but Janet's pumped for it. So
I'm playing it for sure.
I will watch her play it. I will report back her reactions, because her reactions are mostly my reactions most of the time. So
fair enough.
We'll see how that goes. Are you excited for new Pokemon Snap?
Oh, I'm thrilled.
I still can't get over that logo, though.
Yeah.
3 fonts, like 50 layers. Really, really bold strokes. They did a lot to that logo, man.
They did.
Any other thoughts on Pokemon Snap?
No, I don't think so.
Last news story for the day comes into our This Week in Hell segment. And it's because Cyberpunk just won't fucking die. Like, they won't just, go away. They won't say anything right. Yesterday, what's his name? Who is this dude?
The co-founder or whatever?
Yeah.
I forget.
It's not on this stupid page. Anyway, some jackass.
My name is Marcin Iwiński. I'm the
Marcin Iwiński something. I don't know. He said his name. It doesn't sound like a name. So this Polish man went out and did a video that was like 5 minutes long, explaining all of the stuff that went wrong and why they're not at fault, and they're very sorry, but they're also not sorry. And here's our path forward for Cyberpunk 2077. I'm going to read a couple little things from their FAQ here.
Wait.
Instead of recapping the whole video, here's some questions and some answers. Why is there such a gap between PC versions of Cyberpunk 2077 and old-gen consoles? Notice they say old-gen consoles. Old-gen consoles. When they promised this game for current-gen consoles, and everybody that bought it, maybe not everybody, but the vast majority of people that bought it were buying it for what at the time was current-gen consoles.
They chose the words that they wanted to use very carefully.
Cyberpunk 2077 is huge in scope. It features a multitude of custom objects. This is all word salad. In the game, everything is not stretched out over flat terrain. Great. We made it even more difficult for ourselves by first wanting to make the game look epic on PCs and then adjusting it to consoles, especially old gens. When this game was in development for 10 years on a current generation, that was our core assumption, and things did not look super difficult at first. While we knew the hardware gap, ultimately time has proven that we've underestimated the task. You think?
A little bit.
It doesn't hold any fucking water. They were developing this game for 10 years, while the PlayStation 4 and the Xbox One were the primary console. For it to come out...
If they're going to say old gen, where's my 360 version?
It came out 3 weeks after the console launched. If that, maybe a month at the latest. You can't say it's old gen when it was delayed twice, 3 times, however many times it was delayed. It was supposed to come out in 2019. Old gen. Old gen. Fuck you.
Hate to see it.
What was the main issue that made development for consoles that difficult? The main culprit was having to constantly improve our in-game streaming system for old-gen consoles. Streaming is responsible for feeding the engine with what you see on screen as well as the game mechanics. Since the city is so packed and the disk bandwidth of old-gen consoles is what it is, this is something that constantly challenged us. Again, you worked on this game for 10 years. You knew the limitations of the system. If you knew it wasn't going to work, you should have said it. Didn't you test old-gen consoles to keep tabs on the experience? We did. As it turned out, our testing did not show many of the crashes you experienced while playing the game. As we got closer to launch, we saw significant improvements each and every day, and we really believed we'd deliver in the final day 0 update. That's a bold-faced lie.
Yeah.
I have not seen a single person, whether on the PC or on consoles, that has not experienced crashes. I saw a Reddit thread the other day. You can actually go into your PlayStation system settings and pull up error reports for the games you play. And it was everybody pulling up their error reports for Cyberpunk 2077. They were all in the 30 range. Crashes. In the 30 crashes.
That's
average.
A lot. How long does the game take to beat? Like 40 hours?
40 hours, something like that, yeah.
It's like almost a crash an hour.
Even beyond that, though, like, how many times does a game crash on you? How many times did you play a game last year where something crashed?
Like twice.
Yeah.
Like 2 games probably.
And
they were usually indie games that like tried a little too hard and the Switch wasn't having it.
Right. It's ridiculous. It's literally unbelievable. Like what they just said right there is unbelievable.
Yeah.
There's no way that either that or your QA team was just like they weren't testing anything. They didn't do anything.
They just got their paycheck and went home.
Which that's not true. I know they did stuff. They just didn't want to be truthful about it.
Yeah.
Why was there a gap between PC and console reviews? We started sending out PC review keys to start the review process in the first week of December. Come December 10th, launch day, we had a really good start with PC reviews. While it's not perfect, this is a version of the game we were and still are very proud of. When it comes to the review process for consoles, at the same time PC codes were sent out, we were still working hard to improve the quality of the game on old-gen consoles. Every extra day that we worked on the Day Zero update brought visible improvement. That's why we started sending out console codes for reviews on 8th December, which was later than we had planned. This directly contradicts the statement they made when they said we didn't know it ran that bad. That directly contradicts it. You knew it ran that bad because you were releasing updates or updating the game day by day and were supposedly seeing day-to-day improvements. If the game was good enough, you would not see visual improvements day to day. That would not be a thing. This is just this is quite honestly unbelievable that they would put this out after all that happened last month.
Yeah.
And then they go forward and they start talking about, free DLC and the free next gen console updates. I don't know. I don't know what happens from here. I almost think that they're just gonna like eat it almost. Because at this point, everybody that wanted a refund probably got a refund.
Yeah.
And everybody that still has the game is probably at this point just like whatever, like they're over it.
Yeah.
I would not be surprised if they like patch the game so that it doesn't crash as much. And then put out the next gen updates. Like, and then that'll be it.
Just move on. Yep.
It's just like when we had the podcast with Cece and we talked about like what do they need to do to make this better? Like what do they need to do to regain our trust? This is the opposite of that, is to continue lying. Because it's like, who are they trying to fool with this? The only people that are reading this are people
who know.
Right. Are hardcore gamers and people who are invested in this game or are invested in the games industry. Like, who are they trying to fool with this? Are they really just that out of touch? Is this the communication that they've had for the past 10 years where everything's just a cluster all the time? It makes sense now. But I just don't understand like how you can come out with this statement and think this is okay.
Yeah. Yeah, it's not the direction they should have gone.
That'll be it for my negativity for the evening.
Then let's finish on a positive note. Because I have one tiny little thing.
Okay.
At the start of last year, a beloved movie came out.
It did.
And after all this time, Jim Carrey has won I think it's a Critics' Choice Award for Best Villain.
Did he really?
Yeah.
I mean, to be fair, I guess
it was announced like 3 days ago. I also now see on a quick Google search, just again fueling this idea, this conspiracy theory that this is his movie. I guess he was only paid $350,000 for this role, which is like chump change for a major Hollywood actor.
To be clear, we're talking about the Sonic the Hedgehog movie. I don't think we ever came around.
Yes, Sonic the Hedgehog movie. He was only paid $350,000 for that role, which like, it's Jim Carrey.
Right.
He could make as much money as he wanted doing any other film. This is his movie.
How much did
he made this movie?
I'm looking up how much that movie grossed. It grossed $150 million. 350,000 isn't even.
That's not even a percent, right? Is it a percent? Yeah, it's a little. It's got to be. I don't know. Math is hard.
Let's go to the other extreme. Let's go to Chris Evans. What's the math? What is it actually? So 350,000 divided by 149 million.
149 million. Oh no, I don't want minus. I want divided by. No, that can't be right. That is 0.25%, basically.
Okay, that sounds right. Because 350,000 is not even a half of a 1 million, and it's more than 100 million, so it would have to be less than a percent.
Yeah. Okay, that makes sense.
Avengers Endgame. Chris Evans made $15 million for Avengers Endgame. I know that the budget for those movies are very different, obviously.
Oh, vastly, yes.
Chris Evans made $15 million, and Avengers Endgame grossed. Okay. Actually, Jim Carrey might have made some money here because Avengers Endgame made $2.79 billion. So that's maybe not a great comparison to make. But
I mean, no, it still is. Chris Evans made a little over 0.5%.
Okay. But again, very different movies.
Well, yes. But my point was that he won an award.
Okay.
Good job. That's all I had.
I feel like I saw something from him recently about, I don't know that it was about the Sonic movie. Maybe I'm just thinking because I saw Ben Schwartz today. Did you see the tweet? Okay. We're going to get mildly political for a minute, but do you know who Mike Drucker is?
Yes. Didn't he tweet at Ben Shapiro?
He did. So Mike Drucker, he's a comedian, but he started in the games industry. He was a writer, I think, at IGN. He was like an editor at IGN. And then he just decided to start doing comedy. And he got hired on one of the late night talk shows. I don't remember if it was Jimmy Fallon or Seth Meyers. It was somebody like that. And so now he's just a comedian. He's like a writer.
Yeah.
And he tweeted at Ben Shapiro, and it's a really funny tweet, but it went like mega viral because he just dragged Ben Shapiro.
Yeah. 100%.
And so Mike Drucker followed up that tweet with, "Hi, all my new followers who followed me for this very political tweet. I'm going to go back to talking about how Tails is a much better..." Let me find it. It's like a much better... Hold on.
Did you see, speaking of political spicy tweets by people who we associate with the games industry, did you see that? I think it was Jason Schreier.
Which one?
He something about like in the past hour, X happened, Y happened, and the president was impeached. Like two very nerdy things happened, but then also this other major event happened.
So Mike Drucker tweeted, "Hi to everyone who followed me for a political tweet, but I'd like to now shift gears and explain why Tails would be a better husband than Sonic." Okay, so, and then that was it. That was the tweet. Anyway, Ben Schwartz replied to him and said, "This is the one that'll offend me."
Here's Jason Schreier's tweet. "In case you missed it, in the last 10 minutes, Cyberpunk 2077 DLC was delayed, James Harden was traded to the Nets, and the president of the United States was impeached." All right.
Are these things connected? I think so.
We'll see.
Good stuff. Next week on QuickTime Event, we are going to do our most anticipated of 2021. It's our final, beginning of the year, end of the year topic. So next week we'll forecast out what we're excited about. And honestly, I don't know. Because
it's
this
really
year
up in the air.
So weird. I would have thought that this year would have been full of exciting things like travel or, life event kind of things.
Yeah.
Also, I would think that this would have been Avengers Endgame was 2 years ago, almost like 2 years ago now. So I would have thought like this would have been the next year for Marvel to like start pushing its movies. That's probably not going to happen. However, streaming though, I think that like a lot of things on my list next week are going to be streaming related.
Right.
So we will do that next week. If you have any topics you'd like us to discuss, let us know. Get at me on Twitter at Josh Clasen. John's on Twitter at John Camigo. Come join our Discord server so you can take part in discussion, look at previous QuickTime event discussion topics, and see little goodies like the charts I provided to the channel. Also, I drag John regularly because he forgets to do stuff that
it's true.
I asked him to do 3 times. But he finally did it, so we're good.
Yee.
We'll be back with QuickTime Event Plays Persona 4 Golden on Tuesday. It's going to be a good... If you're familiar with Persona 4 Golden, we're going to be doing the camping event. So it's time for the good old camp out, so come join us for that. And then we'll be back with QuickTime Event on Thursday. QuickTime Event podcast, rather, on Thursday. Anything else for the good of the order?
That's all, folks.
Thank you for tuning in. It's been our pleasure, and we will see you all next time.
Bye-bye.